warm welcome to the show. Upload member Anna Fishwine. Anna, tell us a little bit about yourself and what inspired you to get into the world of filmmaking.
Hi, Nish. It's great to be here. So I got into the world of filmmaking because I was on stage. I was an actress and I was performing shows off Broadway in New York and on West End in London. And at that time, a lot of people were, making web series and were kind of talking about dipping their feet into both worlds. And I was very interested in developing this idea about reversing gender. I had always been interested in reversing gender and the comedy that comes out of reversing gender. And originally, I came up with this idea about what if we were in a corporate world and the women were the CEOs and the men were coming in for a job and what that would look like. And so I came up with this show called Happy Hour Feminism, and that just took off all on its own. So I started coming up with even funnier concepts like, all these women who are in charge and they're CEOs and they're sitting on a bar and they're just discussing their lives and they're relaxed and they rule the world and it's the future. And the men are coming in and they're like, I'm feeling fat, or, I need an anti-aging cream. And the women are there giving them advice and giving them solutions and offering them, different products. And so we would sell the products on the show. We would create kind of fake commercials. We had something called the lipo draining beer, and that beer made men lose weight immediately, and then it would have terrible side effects. And so as soon as I started writing the script, I said, okay, it's time to actually make the script. And the only way that I can do this is to, get into film and, did everything that I needed to do, got a company to help me video everything, the videography company, and scouted out locations in New York City, met with people, met with a band, and just literally, Nish, dived in. It wasn't like I wasn't like kind of like, oh, let me be on a set. I just did it,
Absolutely incredible. So, one of the things that you mentioned there that's been core to your experience has been this sort of, just reversing gender. And of course, through that, you're able to tell a lot of stories that are prevalent at the moment and is very crucial for people to hear. The movie that you've been working on is Galaxy 360, which without a doubt fulfills a lot of that criteria. Tell us a little bit about Galaxy 360 and where you are on that journey.
Okay, great. Yes, Galaxy 360, A Woman's Playground, was conceived as kind of like one of the heads of Happy Hour Feminism. Happy Hour Feminism had episodes. So one of the episodes was the Wolf Period. Another episode was the lipo draining beer. And then one day I said, you know what? We should do a beauty pageant, a male beauty pageant. How exciting would that be? Men walking around in their bathing suits. And, and I was always thinking about Victoria Angel's secret, I think it was like Victoria Angel's secret something show. I don't know if you remember, but it was years ago. And it would go on for like 2 to 3 hours, and it'd be models in Victoria's Secret lingerie. And they would kind of walk around and they would parade. And then there'd be behind the scenes where we would talk to the models about their lives. But mostly the goal of that show, because they weren't showcasing any talents or anything like that. They were basically showcasing their bodies, their incredible bodies and their incredible beauty. And then we talked a little bit about, their lives and their feelings and their inner worlds. And I thought, my God, imagine if that was men, if we just talked about the male bodies and then we had this backstage experience. And so I decided to create the Victor's Angels Mr. World Beauty Pageant. And so that is the basis of Galaxy 360, and the movie revolves around this beauty pageant. The film takes place in 2195. Women rule the world. They're the politicians, the CEOs, the honchos in every industry, the scientists. They make all the money. It's very, very difficult to get equal pay for equal work for the men, and the men are usually in assistant assistant type positions in this futuristic world. And the biggest event of the future is Victor's Angels Mr. World beauty pageant, because if you win a prize on that show, you get more social media and you get jobs. And most importantly, um, you get a woman to commit to you. So in the future, men are dying to get married because it is the only way to have financial security. And so at the minute that you set up this world in this way, it doesn't matter what the woman looks like. It doesn't matter what the woman wears. What matters is how powerful and wealthy the woman is. And the men are attracted to the women of wealth and power. And it was a fascinating reversal. And it taught something, not simply, to the cast, but it also taught something to me. I said to myself, it's like we're guinea pigs and I'm going to create an experiment and I'm going to see what that experiment looks like. Because there's been a lot of talk about women, between women, about what we should do, and women women who are sex positive versus women who think that we shouldn't be showing our bodies and we should be objectified, and women are always arguing amongst themselves. I came out of theater. When I got into theater, I was a mom. I was a nursing mom, and all the moms were talking about who's better, a working mom or a stay-at-home mom. And I always had the question, well, what about the men? Why isn't anybody talking about the men? Why are the women defining themselves as, I'm a stay-at-home mom, I'm a working mom, whereas you never hear a dad say, oh, I'm a lawyer, I'm also a dad, I'm a working dad. I don't think I've ever been introduced in the playground to a man who said, I'm a working dad or I'm a stay-at-home dad. They generally just say, I'm an artist. And they might be a stay-at-home dad, but they don't talk about it. And so that was, and so in the same way about the question of objectification and objectifying women, I thought, again, this focus is women discussing women, about who's the better woman, women getting into these arguments with each other and judging each other. I said, let's just take that out of the equation, because this is an equation and this is programming and this is societal programming, and it's been happening for centuries. And until we remove that programming, we cannot be free. And the freedom in reversing gender, the freedom in saying, hello, we are the ones in charge. We are the ones with all the power and money. It doesn't matter that I'm wearing a sexy outfit. It doesn't matter, what I'm wearing. What matters is what the men are wearing. And suddenly the emphasis is not on us. It's not on our beauty. It's not on our bodies. It's on them. And they spend a great deal of my film, discussing how hot or how not hot they are and what they can do to improve themselves and what they can do to get that woman, that powerful, wealthy, influential woman, to commit to them, to notice them, to be interested in dating them. And so by creating that reversal and having everybody, truly believe and truly be and live that world, we created this experience that became Galaxy 360, a woman's playground. And, I'm very proud of that aspect of the movie because it really does go there.
I really love how you just talk about societal programming, and absolutely, and you do such a wonderful job of shedding a light on that through your movie in such a humorous way, and that's been absolutely incredible. So, of course, I've been lucky enough to watch your movie when you premiered it in Cannes this year, and it did get a lot of incredible reviews. Tell us a little bit about what the critics and the audiences have been saying since you premiered it.
Well, thank you for asking for that. I want to cry because I just got a really great review from Entertainment Monthly News that called my film an icon, both as a comedy and as a powerful message. And that was probably one of the most, incredible experiences for me, because I've been working on this film for a very long time, and to be recognized by some reviewers. And then I got a great review in Movie Marker magazine as well, that talked about the fact that I created a sci-fi world from a female perspective. And, she noted all my sort of pink colors and, purples and yellows, and how I tried to change also the programming of what sci-fi looks like. A lot of sci-fi that is created by men, we see a lot of ships, we see a lot of flying through space. We see a lot of grays and browns and blacks. And I wanted, and a lot of sort of robotic creations and the interiors of ships. I watch a lot of sci-fi myself. I'm a huge fan of sci-fi. And so I really wanted to create a world where everything is just very colorful and kind of happy. And even though it's a dystopian world, because the women are fairly abusive of the men, it's a really fun world. And so the fact that it was noticed by the reviewers specifically was extremely emotionally satisfying for me, because I worked so hard to create that, and I created the CGI myself. So that was incredible in my personal experience. And I guess the other thing that I must mention, and the important thing that I must mention about the responses to Galaxy 360, is that the men have been and were at our audience quite affected by the film, something which honestly we, the women who were at the film, did not anticipate. We had men get up, and Nish was there, we had men get up and say, we had one guy who said, "I'm so sorry about what we men have done to you." We had men who said, "We've never thought about it this way. We never thought about the female experience in the same way until you put it into our experience." And so, and I'm I'm I was I'm speechless now, and I was speechless then. And I was really grateful that so many men got up and talked about it, and talked about the fact that they never, ever thought about it that way, because that was exactly the intention. The intention is to make them think, and to make them feel, and to make them empathize with us through humor. And of course, the fact that people laughed. I mean, the fact that audiences post show were coming up to me and saying, "This is hilarious." And um,
There are very many reasons why it's so important for you to tell this story. Tell us a little bit more about the core of why it's so important right now, and what's your vision with Galaxy 360.
so right now, so when I made Galaxy 360, um, I I put together the concept for the movie and the screenplay at the end of 2017, right on the heels of Harvey Weinstein. Um, and having been a woman who had experienced plenty of sexual harassment myself in the industry and otherwise, I thought that it was going to be a really great way to talk about an issue that I had experienced a lot, other women I knew experienced. And I thought, how fun it would be to make it funny, to not try to hit people over the head with it. And Harvey Weinstein was happening, so it felt like the right movie at the right time when I was making it. Now, that was before the pandemic. More heads fell in America, during that time, and in other countries. And there was a movement of sexual, the Me Too movement, as everybody knows. And then the pandemic happened, and the pandemic happened, and just now, approximately a week ago, the Supreme Court in the United States banned abortion, overturned Roe versus Wade, which has led many states to ban abortion completely. So women in this country, so what I'm trying to say is that during the Me Too movement, when I made the movie, I don't think I ever imagined in my wildest dreams that when my movie would be finally finished and ready to come out, I would be facing a world where abortion was being banned in like half the United States, half the country. Right now, I think we are concerned about different states that are hanging in the balance. We've got approximately 22 states where abortion is still legal, and the rest, out of the 51, the rest, we don't know what's going to happen every single day. So it's really concerning. The fact that our president just put in an executive order to protect the abortion pill, to protect contraceptives, it's honestly unthinkable. It's unthinkable that this is where we are, that I started this in 2017 when we were in the midst of the Me Too movement, and somehow, time has moved backwards, and we're suddenly in the 1950s, and we are facing this huge problem and this huge fight, and women are really upset about what's going on in today's society, in today's world. Facebook is filled with women who are heartbroken stories, heartbreaking stories of women who are being forced to have a child against their will, in states where abortion is completely banned, women who are victims of rape, incest, young girls are being forced to have abortions. I just read an article where a 10-year-old girl in Ohio has to leave Ohio because she can't get an abortion. 10-year-old girl. This is what we're looking at. So it's incredible for me, because when I came out with this movie, and I think, I talked about this at the Q&A at the screening of Galaxy 360, I talk a lot about the experience of telling people from different countries about this movie. And I'm always asked, so I always say, okay, I'm going to give you my pitch. And the pitch always goes in the same way. It goes, the movie takes place in 2195. Women rule the world. Men dream of getting married. And it takes place over a male beauty pageant. Those are the 4 sentences that I say. After sentence 2, where I say women rule the world, usually when I'm speaking to a man, and this happened to me in Cannes a lot, and it's happened to me in America, in different places in America, as soon as I finish that sentence, the men will say, oh, don't they already? Oh, you don't need to make, that's already happening. Oh, we're already there. I can't begin to tell you, Nish, how many times I get that statement. And with what's happening today, we know that that's not true. We know that we have a long way to go. And that is why I absolutely feel like Galaxy 360 is the absolutely necessary pill to swallow in today's world, because we are nowhere near where we should be.
And it's amazing that you mentioned that, especially because you've been talking about how all of these changes that's happening recently is causing a lot of gender divide. Instead of making the gap smaller, it's making that gap bigger. And of course, we've talked about your vision for Galaxy 360 to find a way for men to, be in our shoes, to be able to try and empathize with us and understand things from our perspective. So in terms of where you are with the project and then looking for distribution and the type of collaborators you're looking for, what do you think would help you in getting that specific message out there to try and help reduce the gender divide that's happening at the moment?
So probably this is a 2-part question. I wanted to add to the previous question that we were talking about, that I have started and am working on Movement 360, and I hope for that to become a real movement, which is a movement that is stemming from the concept of Galaxy 360. And I hope to create a world for men where they can experience living in our shoes, so that we take bits and pieces out of the film where the men experience, what it's like to be in their bathing suit for a very long time around completely dressed women, and we would, in Movement 360, it'd be done through humor. And we would have different videos, different challenges for men walking on heels all day long and going to parties boys on heels, men sitting around in barely any clothes while the women are fully dressed. Experiments like that. And the goal of this movement is to kind of have the men take on that challenge so that they can see what it's like to be us, but more so to have men simply join the concept of Galaxy 360 so that they take the fight out into the streets with us. Because as I mentioned before, there are a lot of women discussing what's happening with abortion today. There are a lot of women marching. There was a march in Washington on Saturday. It was primarily women, and men need to join the fight. They need to be part of the movement. They need to say, yes, we want equality for women. We want equality for our daughters. We want equality for our wives. And these men need to be visible. They need to be heard. They need to be out in the streets. They need to say that I'm standing up for these women. And they need to differentiate themselves for a change from the other men who are not giving us any rights or power and are trying to, throw our lives back into the 1950s when we didn't really have any power or any rights, and who are forcing us to have children essentially, and catapulting our careers into, women, many women have abortions because of careers, and they have these abortions because of careers, because they want to join the workforce and they want to join the power play. And for women to be forced to be pregnant would completely cut off their chances to be on equal footing with men. That is one of the fundamental things that is indeed happening. So Galaxy 360 and Movement 360 are intended to be a catalyst for men to wake up, honestly. So that's, I wanted to add that there's a movement and that it needs to happen, and needs to happen yesterday. And then the second part, obviously, is to get Galaxy distributed so that we can start having more of these conversations, so that we can make this, live discussions. I would love to have a theatrical release for Galaxy. That's one of my dreams. Because it creates such a live environment for this, and it creates real conversations among people afterwards. Women can come with their husbands and their boyfriends and their intended others, and they can talk about it, and it might help them in their relationships. And sometimes I've made, couples get into fights when they leave Galaxy. That happened to me in LA. And so I would love to see sort of that, I would love to see theatrical distribution for Galaxy. I am in the process of looking for distributors, sales agents. They would be my future collaborators, and I would like for Galaxy to go global and to be seen in many different countries, because it's a global issue that women have.
Absolutely amazing. Outside of Galaxy 360, you also have a number of completed scripts that you have written. Tell us a little bit about some of those and any associated themes we should know about.
So I do have a lot of, I'm trying to think, okay, I'll just tell you all of them very quickly. So I have a screenplay called How to Seduce Your Dinner Guest. And it's kind of a Manhattan type comedy, which is a comedy of errors. And it's a mistaken identity where everyone at this dinner is trying to seduce the wrong person, because they think that person is someone who they're not. And it's a mockery of, sort of Manhattan society, careers and ambitions and worlds that I've dipped into. It's about the corporate world essentially, and it's where the corporate world kind of meets the entertainment world at this dinner. So it's a kind of a really fun comedy, and I hope for that. I hope to start filming that project soon. And then I've written 2 pilots. One is called Infidelity Club, and the other one is called Healthy Nuts. And the Infidelity Club is about, so how can I put it gently? Infidelity Club is basically a cheating club for women. And it was created because I met so many wives whose husbands were cheating on them. So I created this world where women decide that they want to remain married, but they are not enjoying being on the short end of that stick where their husbands are cheating on them. So they form a club, and in this club they get to choose who their lovers will be, and they get to cheat. And the tagline is stay infidelity club, how you can stay happily married to your cheating husband, ... by cheating yourself. That's one of it. And then Healthy Nuts is about a world of very, very healthy people doing very unhealthy things. And it centers around a little shop, a spinach type shop that where all the drinks are all really weird and they're really good for you. And it's about a single mom trying to raise her son and also dating and her weird concoctions. And I kind of make fun of the world of health and how we've gone really nutty in that direction as well. So I just make fun of the world of being very, very healthy. And then her mom is actually an alcoholic. So it pokes fun, which I like to do.
Amazing. Anna, you must be a really busy person. How do you rest and unwind at the end of the day?
Oh, I don't. I just try to fall asleep. But I do watch, sometimes resting is watching a great Netflix series or a great Amazon series. And so I do rest that way. I do a great deal of yoga. I do Bikram yoga. I meditate. So I guess a couple of those things. And I like to take walks. And during walks, I think a lot. So I have a river. I live near the Hudson River, and I will walk along the river and think. And sometimes I'll come up with, a new screenplay or a new show and things like that.
Absolutely incredible. Anna, it was such a pleasure to have you on our show. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you so much, Nish. Thank you so much for having me.
To find out more about Anna's projects and on how to collaborate with Anna, head to our platform www.apogeotechnologies.com.